what's your thoughts on like toxic masculinity?
What the fuck is that? Big man saying, I don't even know what that hyper masculinity thing is, bruv. But shout out to my LGBTQ people, bruv, you get me.
I think the odds are pretty decent that most of you don't know a hell of a lot about the up-and-coming UK rapper Castillo. I mean, after all, even when doing something as rudimentary as searching for his name on Google, it may return with over 100 million results. But only a small fraction of that content actually has to do with the rapper himself. In fact, most information pertains to the Seattle Mariner pitcher known as Luis Castillo, who is decidedly not the dude we're talking about here today. It's almost like if your last name's Smith. No one's ever gonna find you. It's only gonna be Will. Which only begs the question, who is this promising young MC who's pushed himself past the pressure and pain of his single parent come up to rack up some incredible views on YouTube? Well, we dug up as much info as we could to answer that question for you, so sit back, relax, and enjoy our newest episode of Before They Were Famous on the rapper known as Castillo.
I don't know why you felt like you couldn't tell me until now. That's what I don't understand, Joseph.
You just use my government name, bro.
Castillo was born in the summertime, July 18th to be exact, though his birth year has not yet been revealed, to a schizophrenic mother as well as a similarly ill father who was battling addiction issues to crack cocaine.
Have you got like Indian in you or something?
Yeah, my dad's Indian.
Okay.
My dad's Indian. Man. Yeah, my dad. I met my dad at 23 years. I met my dad at 23 years old.
Yeah?
Wow. He just come out of jail, bro.
Okay.
He didn't know about me. It was a one
Indian. Is it Indian?
I mean, you could say that Castillo was born into a losing situation without a hope in the world, but thank God for grandmothers because Castillo's adopted him right away and raised him as her very own son. Just don't let Tyga hear about that. Got your grandma on my dick.
Social services want to take me away, so what she did, she basically kidnapped me and took me to Dominica so they couldn't take me. And she's a grandmother in it, so at the time I think she would have been like 50s,
Yeah,
so they wouldn't let her take care of me.
While living with his grandmother, Castillo spent most of his childhood in the council estate known as Gurnell Grove, which in North America would be more commonly referred to as public housing, you know, the projects. He moved there at the age of 10 after spending his early years in the Caribbean, where as a foolish young kid, he'd befriend others just so that he could steal from them. At the time of their move to the UK, Castillo says that he couldn't have been happier because the home he and his grandmother had previously been living in wasn't the greatest. And I'm really not exaggerating here, folks. I'm talking maggots on the floor and the smell of gasoline permeating everything. But after moving to Gurnell, things wouldn't immediately get better, and Castillo found himself having to deal with a different kind of vermin. Pigeons and punks.
I go open my fucking room door, bruv, and I just saw, bruv, bare pigeons, bruv, pigeons everywhere. So I called my mum. My mum came in the room, bruv, and she pigeons, bruv, big man thing. Bare hands, bruv, it was a mad thing.
Only 5 days after arriving in his new environment, Castillo got accosted by a local resident around his own age. Now, when this kid spat on him and started hurling racial insults, Castillo responded the only way that he knew how, with a stiff uppercut.
Big man thing, yeah? It's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good.
This altercation would have an unintended side effect when the kid's older brother challenged Castillo to a fight for hurting what turned out to be his sibling who was dealing with special needs. Maybe an uppercut isn't always the best way to solve it. But rather than feel bad about what happened, Castillo handled this kid too and taught him a lesson by smashing his face with a rock. Yeah, Castillo had a little bit of an anger issue, if you would, and they'd follow him around everywhere that he went.
Big man thing, yeah? Why do these mad people on Spice keep coming for me, bruv? And how's this guy gonna be talking when he's dressed like fucking Unabomber, bruv?
Now, in terms of school, it probably doesn't shock you to find out that he absolutely hated it. His biggest problem, after spending a few years in the Caribbean, everyone in his new school seemed just way too spoiled. Or as they would say in the Caribbean, you were moving stush. But ultimately, his behavior rubbed off on Castillo and he began acting spoiled by comparison, often demanding that his grandmother buy him the latest gaming system while also getting them kicked out of her friends' homes for being unabashedly rude. While Castillo was assimilating himself into what he perceived to be British culture, he also began getting into a ton of fights at school, something that he calls the beginning of a chain of events that led him down the wrong path. If he was getting in fights, I guess he's still assimilating into British culture. It's not like the British have never gotten into a fight before, but... Complicating Castillo's teenage years was that he was more than a little overweight. We're talking 224 pounds of attitude and rage. Because he stuck out so much due to his size, he was constantly harassed in the classroom, on the bus, and during his walks home. Everywhere.
One of my best friend from Uganda, he's like cussing me like, yo, your mum came over in a plantain, bruv. I mean, like, bruv, your dad's a child soldier, bruv. Do you know what I mean? The insults was some... But people now don't understand that because now you should stab you in the face, bruv. It's different. Yeah.
Eventually, things got so bad that Castillo began feeling extremely depressed. His home life with his grandmother was actually great, but his experiences with people outside of the home made him withdraw within himself and even contemplate ending his life. He obviously never wound up taking such drastic measures, but what he did do for a very long period of time was simply let life pass him by. Then, one day, while watching the Michael Mann movie Heat, he heard Robert De Niro utter the line,
"Don't let yourself get attached to anything you are not willing to walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you feel the heat around the corner."
Realizing that single sentence encapsulated his entire life, it helped Castillo realize that there were other people in this world that felt exactly like he did, even if they were socially ostracized gangsters like Neil McCauley. At the time, the only thing Castillo felt like he could take control of was how he looked, so he started boxing regularly to get himself in shape and find a healthier way to express himself than getting into schoolyard fights. Stepping into a boxing ring helped Castillo realize what he was really made of and wound up changing the course of his life forever. His trainers recommended that he drop some weight in order to classify himself as a middleweight, so every morning he began drinking protein shakes and went for a run, basically starving himself in order to reach his goal. By the time he was in his 3rd year at college, he had finally done so. Then, at the age of 23, Castillo converted to Islam and finally began to pull himself out of his deep depression. Now, outside of his developing passion for fitness and faith, the other thing that kept Castillo going through his early difficult life was his love for music, and it wound up becoming the very thing that turned his life around completely. His love for music has been the one constant from Castillo's early life to where he is now today. Just also happened to be the only thing that he ever wanted to do with his life. But after losing his way for so long, he began to worry that he had also lost his chance to achieve his dreams. So as a young man, Castillo finally started attending local musical events and socializing with people for the first time in his adult life.
My main jobs that I've ever done is like bouncing outside of a nightclub, yeah. I was bouncing in Hammersmith, yeah, in a place called Slug and Lettuce.
Because you're from West, innit?
Yeah, from West, yeah.
Big up West
and
London.
Basically, it was like
Every slug of lettuce is decent, I lie.
No, it's not.
I've never
bruv.
been into
no,
one
not
that
if
was
you're
dead.
working there, bruv. Like literally.
The more he attended rap concerts around the city of London, the more he became inspired to accomplish his dreams once and for all. Now, in order to pull off the seemingly impossible, Castillo saved up some of his own money and then threw together his first professional rave. It was called Don't Panic and took place in April of 2015. He prompted it every single chance that he could get, even going so far to talk his way into an event with Amber Rose and Tahiri, where he got his picture taken with both. Thanks to those enterprising measures, Castillo wound up selling out his first rave and realized that he had stumbled upon a lucrative way to make a living. He kept promoting raves for a number of years, but after a shooting happened at one of them, local police cracked down and Castillo had to find another means to keep the money rolling in. After discovering the success of social media rappers like Nine, C-Biz, Mist, as well as Crypt and Conan, Castillo decided once and for all that he'd finally attempt to become the musician that he had so long sought to be. He took all the money he had left over and funneled it into studio time. After a few early misfires, Castillo would finally figure out his sound and would use his proficiency at promoting himself to ensure his success. Now, when it comes to Castillo's magic touch with social media, he does tend to operate more like a relationship advisor or influencer than a musical artist. Most of his content is played for laughs. At least I hope it's played for laughs. Although, you know.
Quoting things I say in the video, all of that, just off something that I filmed on the video. And the maddest thing is, I think of it like it's humor in it. I look at it like it's jokes, but then there's people out there that can really relate to that, because obviously all the stuff I'm talking about is real to me.
But thanks to his willingness to say anything, he quickly blew up on Instagram and TikTok by alternating back and forth between promoting himself on social media and releasing music videos for tracks like Too Much, Don't Say Nothing, and Money on My Mind on Link Up TV. As well as GRM Daily, Castillo was finally making his dreams a reality. See kids, that's how you blow up. In more recent years, he's found himself even more success with popular songs like Sniper and Paid in Full, while also developing his social media personality further with a new web-based reality series titled Clout Chasers, in which he endeavors to finally find the love of his life. Not sure how that's gonna end. If the show's called Clout Chasers and you're looking for a wife, doesn't that mean your wife's gonna be a... No, anyway, it's up to Castillo anyways. I think he knows what he's doing.
I'm gonna be telling you lot to step forward, and I'm gonna be eliminating one by one. I tell that you're on some and you're trying to trick me, but I see right through you.
In other words, the future is incredibly bright for this young artist who once seemed destined to spend the majority of his life in the shadows. But as for what happens next, well, that'll be a story for another time and another place. I mean, after all, this is before they were famous.
When was the last time you cried?
Years ago. I've been trying to make myself. I cried I cried like a few months ago, yeah, because I smoked weed. I just tried it for the first time, yeah, and I started crying. Don't know why.
Thank you everybody for watching, and please be sure to let us know what you thought about Castillo's story in the comment section down below. If you would like to check out other entries in this series, then search for our recent looks into the come-ups of Blast, Hit Kid, and Charleston White. Afterwards, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, all that good stuff. You know what it is. My name is Clyde Smith, and I'll see you guys in another video.